We have braved this long and limitless desert just for one reason. There is only one place where spelunkers are called in. This is Psychedelic Eyeball. Welcome to this Let's Play of Spelunky. So, what about Spelunky? This game was first made in 2008 as a game maker game which was available for free on the internet. In this game, you assume the role of a spelunker going through the most dangerous dungeon of all, and you will die over and over again trying to get to the end of it in order to get the fabled treasure of the cave. And in 2012, we had this Xbox Live Arcade remake which pretty much revamped the entire game, but the premise of the game still remained the same. You will horribly die to the obstacles around you. Sometimes the deaths that you will encounter will be pretty unfortunate, some other time they will be pretty much blatantly unfair. Wait for it. Yeah, essentially it's a Rube Goldberg machine of death and destruction, only sometime you will horribly laugh at your own mistakes. So, Spelunky! So, for the purposes of this Let's Play, I will be doing the PC version, and you can get the PC version on either Steam or GOG.com. I will be using the version on GOG.com, but this one does not have the daily challenge or the leaderboards. So, you can choose your character. There are 4 different characters that you can choose, and finally there are 16 additional characters that you will unlock as you play the game more and more. Before we are let loose into this world of death and destruction, we first have to have some hand-holding and undergo the tutorial. Additionally, we also have some narrative to accompany the tutorial. Although, in the original version of the game, there was no such thing. In fact, I'm not even sure that the original game even had a story, but essentially, we're led into her quest for gold, for finding out enemies, and also that all of the places that we're gonna explore will be randomly generated, because this is pretty much the main draw of the game. The fact that pretty much no single playthrough will be the same. This is another one of those games with infinite replayability. Although, I'd be a little bit worried, because even after mastering the basics of combat and movement, you still won't have much chance leaving here a rich man. Instead, you will most likely die. So the tutorial level is pretty much self-explanatory, and whenever you kill enemies for the first time, they will be added into your journal. This way you can chronicle every single enemy that you've encountered, all of the items you've picked up, all of the traps that you had to deal with, and so on and so on. Essentially, it's a pretty nice encyclopedia for reminiscing about all of the things that you've done, and additionally, for stuff like the enemies, you will also have a count of how many of the enemies you have killed and how many of them managed to kill you. Now, you had access to such a resource in the original game, but the thing is, it was only available into a text file. Whenever you'd open up the stats.txt file that was in Spelunky Classic, you could see how many of each enemy type you have killed and how many killed you while you were playing. All of the following things will be things that will happen to you a lot while you are playing, especially falling into spike pits. But rest assured, the monsters will also be quite a source of worry. I like that the game even gave an explanation as to why you will even come back to life every single time that you died. Yeah, it's just, okay, I died, but I just woke up at the beginning. Yeah, that's all that you have to do. I don't know, I think I'd be more scared of such a place instead of just wanting to go in over and over again, but then again, I'm not as extreme. So we just picked up the first item of the game, which is the bomb bag. Bombs are one of the most basic tools that you have in this game, and yeah, sometimes you can find them in chests. And those are pretty bad news, what can I say? Bombs allow you to pretty much move around the levels by blowing up pieces of the landscape, either the wall, the ground, or the roof, and whenever you just want to lay down a bomb like that, you need to crouch, because otherwise you're just gonna throw the bomb as far as you can. And finally, bombs can be used in order to destroy particularly hard enemies. Ropes are more straightforward, but no less useful because they allow you to scale really high walls that otherwise you couldn't jump your way across. Those clay pots can either help you or hinder you because most of the time you will find money inside of them, but occasionally you will find enemies in them. But most of the time they will only be snakes or spiders. In fact, there's usually one bit of risk that will come with pretty much any single bit of collectible that you will find in the game, minus the item crates. These, however, will always contain an item, and they will never backstab you or destroy you trying to pick them up. But while Claypot may have enemies in them, chests, outside of giving you money, may just end up giving you a bomb in your face. And right here we get pretty much our tutorial saying to us that there is way more to this game than the mines. Oh ho, there's going to be plenty more than just mines. In fact, we already have one of the locations that we'll see in the game hinted toward us, which is the jungle, and now we also get the promise of bigger and higher treasure. That will certainly boost our score as we go through the game. So this is the final level, and in it we will learn how to deal with spikes. Yeah, falling from such a height is still high enough in order for you to die. And by the way, spikes are an instant kill. No matter how much health you have, you will die. So you have to crouch and then let yourself go, and only if the ledge is right above the spikes. Otherwise, you will be impaled. But the moment that you're down here, you're free to go through the spikes as you want. But make sure that you don't jump again whenever you're down here. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of the tutorial because it teaches you parts of level design that you will never see in the regular game, because normally you're supposed to circle around the entire place in order to get to this area, but you'll never see that in an actual level of the game. And by the way, these are the arrow traps. These are one of the main obstacle types that you will see throughout the game in the first portion, that is the mine. They're pretty dangerous. And the golden idol that we just picked up is valuable money that you can give to the shopkeeper in order for you to get a whole lot of things. But make sure that you don't steal them, because otherwise the shopkeeper will not be very happy. Or at least, if you want to rob the shopkeeper, you better be way more prepared for that. But I'm gonna cover this into another video because right now I'm getting way ahead of myself. Whenever you're starting to play this game, robbing the shopkeeper is the least of your worries. Instead, you probably should just focus on getting to the end. So this is another reason why I dislike the tutorial, because you have to go through hoops in order to get to the damsel in distress. I mean, in the classic game it only was one level and it showed you all of the design and all of the things that you had to master in the game still. This one just takes way more time than it probably needs, but yeah, damsels in distress just sit there waiting for you to rescue them, but the moment that you pick them up and lay them on the ground, they will run away in panic and fear. Which means that they will either fall on spike pits, will run into traps, or get killed by upcoming enemies. Although for the most part, most enemies in the game won't harm the damsels, but they can still be hurt by projectiles though. Bringing the idol to the exit of the level will give you extra gold based on how far you are in the game, and if you bring a damsel to the exit of a level, she will give you 1 extra hit point, which is really handy because there's very little opportunities for you in the game to refill your health, so you gotta enjoy every single one of them when you can. So that's it, that's the end of the tutorial. Now that we've gone through that, we are ready to go with the main game. It's about time that we undergo her quest for gold, destruction of enemies, and getting kisses on the cheek. Yep, that's pretty much how it goes into this place. And now that we read his entire journal, we can finally enter the mines. I really can't help but feel that this moment would have felt a whole lot more epic if it was for different music, but alright, an entire world of opportunity awaits us! Okay, so we had plenty of help, but all of the help that we got will stop here. And whenever you discover new places, they will also be listed into your journal, or into an abandoned mine with many chefs. The main particularity of Spelunky is that you only have one life in order to go through your entire journey. The moment that you die, you are brought all the way back to level 1-1 in order to retry again. And while this is a pretty short game, I mean, in order to get to the end of the game, there's pretty much only 16 levels, but you will have a hard time getting to the end. So we get our first weapon in addition of the whip, which is the Boomerang. This is a pretty efficient weapon and a brand new addition to this remake of Spelunky, and I really like this weapon. It's excellent for destroying small critters like snakes, spiders, and all sort of things like that. Against tougher enemies it's not as efficient, but for the most part it's a very well-rounded weapon. We could use one of our bombs in order to go through this wall, but I don't really see any reason as to why we should go there, because it doesn't seem as if there was anything exciting over there. So at the end of every level, you get a loot payoff of every single little bit of treasure that you found, as well as an inventory of all of the critters that you've killed in your adventure on this level. Now, we had a new enemy over here, but unfortunately I killed him off so fast that you couldn't see it, but don't worry, here he is again. This is the spinner spider, and this is one of the most inoffensive critters of the entire game. They just go up and down on the rope, and for the most part, they don't really present any kind of threat. So the thing that I put my boomerang on is an altar. If you put a damsel or any kind of living being on it, it will be sacrificed and you will get an item out of the deal. So right now we are facing a spider, and yeah, this one is huge and it deals a lot of damage. And yeah, this spider really destroyed us really bad, and that put an end to our first playthrough. Essentially, I just wanted to give you a vibe of what a genuine first playthrough of this game looks like. Normally, you will die within 1 or 2 minutes, but that's pretty much how this game works. So that'll be it for this first update of Spelunky. I'll stop here in order to keep things short and basic, and starting on the next update, we will see how we can outsmart all of those death traps and become a master spelunker.